What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with some more Detroit Lions news, and we're going to call this Lions Flash Takes. You know, instead of updates, Flash, I don't know. I couldn't think of a cool name. But this is going to be a quick update. I promise you, this will be a quick update of the moves the Lions have made so far today in terms of claiming players off of waivers, players leaving, joining other teams, and they're filling out their practice squad. So let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
And welcome everybody to a video. Glad you guys are here. And at the end of this, we'll do a breakdown. We'll take a look at all the moves the Lions made. I'm going to try to keep you guys updated, though, when there are little breaks. And I think that we have one right now. But honestly, right now while I'm talking, the Lions are probably making moves. And by the time you see this, there's probably going to be more moves that have happened. So I'm going to do my best to keep you guys on top of this. That's why this video's got to be short and sweet. So Detroit Lions claimed 2 players off of waivers today at 2 positions that we knew they would probably address. First off, the kicker position. Now, most of the media was hating on the Lions. Oh, they don't have a kicker. What are they doing? We were going to get a kicker back. Like, y'all need to chill, man. We're going to get a kicker. It was just so that we could leave an open roster spot for someone else because there was inconsistencies from Bullock and Zane, and honestly, one of them could have still been available. So the Detroit Lions went out and they added a kicker off of claims, and this kicker comes from the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. We're talking about a former 5th-round pick. Yes, so he was a draft pick back in 2019. Now, keep in mind, John Dorsey was with the Cleveland Browns at this time as their general manager. He actually may have had influence on both of these additions. Via a trade, they make a trade with the Patriots to get that 5th-round pick so that they can select the kicker. And in his first year with Cleveland, he has a pretty good statistical season. 25 for 29, 9 for 12, between 40 and 49 yards, which is 75%. Not terrible. And on extra points, though, here was the issue. He was 30 for 35. That's not great with extra points. Because at Oklahoma, he kicked 98.4% on extra points in college. So maybe just a little bit surprising there because we know they're both backed up. But in college, he kicked about 80% at Oklahoma, which is pretty good because you usually don't see that high of percentages back in college, especially with the amount of attempts that he had. Plus, back in college, he was a guy that could punt and kickoff. He could do both of those things. In the NFL, he's done kickoffs, and 43 basically percent of his kickoffs had landed in touchbacks, but back in college, he was also the guy that could punt. Never did in a pinch, he could do it, okay? That's something that he's done in the past, so it's not completely new to him. 2020 is where things, kind of got derailed for him. 2020, no more John Dorsey, and after the first week, they decide to waive Austin Seibert that season as he missed his extra point and his field goal in that first game. He was 0 for 2 basically on the day, so they waived him. And that's when the Cincinnati Bengals swooped in and picked him up. Now, with the Cincinnati Bengals in last season, only 8 field goal attempts. He made 6 of them, but he was 8 for 8 on his extra points. Okay, so clearly there's a reason that he was waived. Clearly there's a reason that he's available now, but he is a very young player that has showed promise going back to his rookie season in the NFL. He's just missed some extra points, but 25 for 29, that's pretty darn good. All right, on his career, he kicks 81.6%, which is a little bit lower than Bullock and Matt Prater, but it's a very much smaller sample size. So that's not to say this guy will be the kicker going forward, but he is a guy that can at least compete, depending on if they bring someone else in to compete with him as well. They probably will. Also could be part of the future. Very young kicker, okay? I mean, usually you're picking up these older guys, very, very young. So this is a player that could be here for a long time with Jack Fox, and we could have this special teams unit locked up if he can prove it this season. So now Austin Seibert is a Detroit Lion. We'll see how he does, but this should be exciting because there's a chance that he could be our kicker long term. Now, the Lions also went out and claimed a receiver, Hodge from the Cleveland Browns. Another guy that John Dorsey brought in back in 2019 because of his special teams ability. To me, I got like Baby Perriman vibes here. The reason I have that is because he's an athlete, he's got size, he's freakishly athletic. All right, so that's the first takeaway you have. 6'2", 200 plus pounds. He started his career in 2018 with the LA Rams, which means there is a connection with Brad Holmes and Jared Goff. All right, so there's that connection there for sure. But then he was brought in 2019 by the Cleveland Browns. And in 2019, he had 4 receptions on 10 targets for 76 yards, which was 19 yards per reception. So obviously a deep threat. And then this past season in 2020, he was kind of like their number 3 receiver when he was on the field. He had 11 receptions for 180 yards, which is 16.4 yards per reception, including a 75.6 pass rating when thrown his way. Now, he's only had technically 1 drop throughout his career, even though there are some passes that maybe he could have caught that he didn't come up with. However, like I said, this is one of those guys that are very athletic. He had a 4.39 40 coming out of college, and he also had a 38.5-inch vertical, freakishly athletic. Now, with the Cleveland Browns right now, they really didn't need to keep him because they drafted Anthony Schwartz. They have Donovan Peoples-Jones. Higgins is also one of their receivers, so they really have their depth figured out. They didn't really need another receiver. This a player that hasn't shown us that consistent production. He dealt with a little bit of a hamstring last season, but we know that he can play special teams. He was brought in by John Dorsey. He played the gunner position, so he can do that. In the preseason, the limited opportunities that he got, even though they were pretty high reps, they both came in the first quarter. He caught a couple of touchdowns. He made some big plays over the field. He could play both the Z and X receiver position. The Lions needed some more size out there. They made the trade for the other receiver. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Khalif. This one gives me some Perriman vibes. All right, but the biggest thing will be here, can he consistently catch the passes thrown his way? I mean, it's as simple as that. But there's speed. He's got high point ability. You can see it. And his pass catching looked good in the preseason. At least he had a strong preseason. That's a good sign. Still a very young player, but the Lions could definitely use a player like this. And like we said, this is the type of receiver that they want. So Hodge is now a Detroit Lion at 26 years old, and he has that connection with Jared Goff, probably from practice. Now, those are the two claims the Lions have put out there. A couple guys that we've, lost, but we already knew they were going to be gone just to where they went. Mike Ford was picked up by the Denver Broncos. Congratulations, Mike Ford, man. We'll be rooting for you big time. I know that. And Brashad Perriman is a Chicago Bear. Oh, snap. Okay, I see what you're trying to do, Chicago. You tried it with True Font. Ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work, Chicago. I don't like that. It ain't gonna work. Now, I think we all kind of had a feeling this was gonna happen. Jelani Tobias has been added to the Patriots practice squad. Honestly, I'm very happy for the guy. Hoping it works out in this defense that you're built for, that you're made for. Obviously, Patricia drafted you in the second round, so he wanted you out of the draft. There was war rumors there that the Patriots wanted you as well. So I'm happy for you, man. Go out there, make it work with New England. Good luck. I think we all kind of saw this coming. I think a lot of people were like, he's gonna land with the Patriots. It was like, yeah, that's probably going to happen because that's the defense that suits him, and those guys are over there. Either way, the Detroit Lions have also been adding to their practice squad. First off, Miles Brown. Now, he was with us throughout the preseason, played really well. Nose tackle, can slide a little bit outside to about the 3 tech. He can get after the quarterback. He could be a run stopper. He was brought in when we needed depth, and he played well consistently. But it's just such a deep defensive line that it was like, man, we can't keep everybody. But if we could have landed any of those guys back, Hector, any of those guys, that would have been great. And Miles Brown is one of those players. They were able to bring him back. That's fantastic. I love that. That's huge to have a guy like Miles Brown back because we have injuries, things like that. We need another run stuffer for whatever reason. Miles Brown can be that dude and give you some pass rush upside. So I'm happy about that. Also, Steven Montez, a former quarterback out of Colorado, has been brought in. Steven Montez, so far the preseason, hasn't played a ton. Even though the Washington football team doesn't have great top-end talent, they do have solid depth. Kyle Allen, Fitzpatrick is going to be their starter, and they have Heineke, who won a playoff game. All right, so they have solid depth, which meant that he didn't play a ton in the preseason aside from his first game against the Patriots, where he went 17 of 24 for about 108 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. In that game, you see a lot of some Jared Goff vibes, to be honest with you. He's a guy with really nice pocket presence, doesn't have the biggest arm, wasn't forcing shots down the field. He just takes what the defense gives him, but he keeps plays alive. He has some scramble ability. He's got some speed, made plays on the run, which was nice. I liked him utilizing the pump fake, but he was quick. The first option they saw open, he took it. He wasn't forcing things down the field. The one pick that he threw was slightly a little high. He's had some inaccurate passes. He's had some inaccuracies there in the one that was bounced off the receiver's hands and picked off. But then he led his offense down the field, down by 8, to a touchdown, just taking everything the defense gave him, throwing it out to the running back, getting downfield and rolling out and firing it to the corner of the end zone. And then they went for 2, and he dropped a beautiful ball that was called a drop, even though the announcer said it should have been a catch. So they lost that game. But this is a guy that's very young. He was a 2020 UDFA out of Colorado. He's got good size, 6'5", 230 pounds. And what this brings is at least competition, because Tim Boyle's not going to be here or competing for at least 6 to 8 weeks, right? So at least now you have a guy that can compete with David Blau. That way it's not just, hey, you got the job. You're that dude right now. Someone's got to keep pushing him. Another Goff trait you saw was the arm angles. On play action, when a guy's in his face, he has those little arm angles that you don't really notice, but he can kind of sling it around a defender. And he played in the offense out of the shotgun a ton, with Washington, but also then he would get under center, run some play action. So I can see the schematic fit. There was some solid ball placement. I just liked how poised he was, though, under pressure. He would sit in the pocket. He would take a big hit. He wouldn't panic. He knew where his check down was. I liked that, but there just was a lack of deep passes. There were some inaccuracies, over the middle. Not a ton. There was probably about 2 passes that I would count in that Patriots game. I have incredible arm strength. He doesn't have a lot of power. He doesn't push it down the field, doesn't force it down the field. Is there that wild chance that he becomes, the future? Sure. I mean, I don't want to count it out. He's that young, but it is at least just competition at this point with Tim Boyle dealing with injury. Now, Lions did keep RB3 quarterbacks, so they didn't need to do this, but I think it's good competition. Sage Sharat has been brought back. We know Sage was brought in from Wake Forest this offseason. He didn't have a fantastic preseason, rarely got targeted, didn't come up with any receptions, good size. He showed some ability, I think, in practice, and I'm probably sure that's why Lions brought him back, because I think he was pretty good through training camp, but we just didn't see a ton in the preseason. He has now been brought back to the practice squad, so I like to see that. And finally, Lions brought in another new guy, Shane Zilster, I think that's how you say his name. He's a tight end, but he was actually a former Minnesota State player, which was just like our offensive lineman, Evan Heim. Former Minnesota State player that was a receiver that put up school records in college, 6'4", basically just under 230 pounds. With that size, the Vikings moved into the tight end position. He went undrafted in 2020. Because of COVID, it was tough for him to get a tryout, but his college stats are kind of ridiculous. His senior season, he had 81 receptions for 1,600 yards and 18 touchdowns. That's fantastic, but now he's been moved to tight end. So Lions could possibly use him at receiver if they wanted to. Either way they wanted to. Kind of gives me some Hunter Bryant sort of vibes here. I haven't been able to really dive into much film. I know he had one reception throughout, the NFL, but I'll have to dive into some film later on that as we continue to get these updates. But I know there's statistical production there. I'm sure he can pass catch, which is different from a lot of our guys, and we could use a third tight end. Kabinda, you got Kabinda, you have Fells, you have Hawk. We could use another tight end here, and this one could be that. Or he also could be a receiver, but I think it's probably going to be a tight end. Either way, those are the moves that the Lions have made so far. That is your flash update. I'll keep you guys up to date with the latest moves. Stay tuned. Thank you, Brad, for watching, and I'm out.